Good morning, guys. I was going to flash the lights, but I don't know where the lights are.
There are switches everywhere.
Okay.
You know what to do in the back of the day.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Thank you for heating up the place, getting here nice and early. Thank you, Marty, and to Mike, who made Backpacks for Kids happen in one afternoon. Pickup, pack, delivery. So yay for Mike and Marty. Thank you, guys.
Give me a break.
Let's see, Shoshana has an announcement coming. Oh, there she is. Sorry.
You just took a bite.
Okay. I have that server timing. How's your meal?
I have a slightly squish poster for the Downtown Arcata Ball next weekend. So it's on next Friday at the Arcata Theatre Lounge. And it'll be fun. We have Bubble Foundation, fun announcements, hanging out with lots of wonderful people from Downtown Arcata and beyond. So next Friday. Okay. I'll carry the slightly squish poster.
We'd like to visit or welcome visiting Rotarians and guests.
Guest here.
Yeah, I'm Colin Ewing. I moved to Humboldt about 6 months ago. I live in Arcata and I work for the Bureau of Land Management. I manage the office in, I live in Eureka, manage the office in Arcata. So I drive back and forth every day. I past the beautiful bay. I was a Rotarian in Western Colorado for the last couple of years, and so kind of checking out the club locally here to see if one fits.
Oh, yeah, you got one right on.
Glad you're here.
Hey, there the other one, but not nearly as fun.
We're the fun club. Yes. As you can tell. Ian, we're starting the process on picking a president for 24-25.
We are.
Okay.
We are. I had to write this down to keep it all straight because there's a lot to it. So each year the past presidents serve as a nominating committee for our club to identify members who are qualified, highly qualified, and discuss their possible candidacy as a future president of the club. And we also reach out to them individually and discuss, what it means and what the commitment is, and answer any questions or concerns, and then secure a tentative commitment from one of them to do that. So at next week's club meeting, not today, but next week's club meeting on March 10th, we'll announce the recommended candidate from your club's past president committee as our 24-25 president-elect nominee. And at that meeting, there will be opportunity for members to nominate from the floor other possible candidates. What the past presidents would ask, though, is because we've had conversations with several people in the club, just to tag in me or Vanessa or, well, not quite a past president, but she's in the loop, Maggie, or any of the past presidents, before you reach out to somebody and put them in an awkward position of, no, I already said no, or, I said yes, but it's going to be a few years, or no, I haven't thought about it and I'm just new to the club and I'm not ready. So have a conversation before you reach out to somebody. And always, if you're going to nominate somebody, give them a heads up first. Generally, a candidate for the club presidency should be somebody who's been a member of the club for several years, has served in any of our leadership roles, either serving on the board and or serving as a chairperson for one or more committees, usually 2 or 3 over time. Doesn't have to be all at once. So they have experience with what leadership means in the context of what we do. And then speaking of board service, the board fairly recently appointed Bob Judavine to fill a vacancy that was unexpected. So far he's shown up every time and has great commentary.
Yvonne asked you?
Yeah.
So, but that means that board position, which we filled with Bob as a vacancy that was unexpected, is up for nomination and election for the 23-24 Rotary year as John Gillum. I'll see in the room this morning. He's at Pets. He's
I have a point of order because, and this may have changed over the years, but in the past we had 3 separate terms. Each one was a 3-year term, and when someone vacated a board post, the other person was nominated to, or
fill out that.
to fill out that term. And the idea of the 3-year terms and having 3 separate three separate groups of board members was to provide continuity within the board. And I'm sensing, I mean, Bob, you're great. You are wonderful. But your term should be whatever is left of,
It is.
okay, okay.
I think that's why he's calling for the.
And that's typically hasn't been elected. That's been nominated, approved by the board, and that's
To
extended.
fill the vacancy, yes.
Yes.
But then that term ends at the end. of
Okay,
this
so,
fiscal year.
Nick's term was going to end at the end of this year?
That's my understanding.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
He
so,
was just about to finish his third
Okay,
year on the
well,
board.
I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. It is important to bring up points of order because not all of us understand. Hi Genevieve. Our other guest this morning, Genevieve from Fox 5. So, part of, and that doesn't, it includes us as past presidents. We're constantly referring back to the board bylaw, or the club bylaws and the club constitution to refigure this out every year, because past presidents, like myself, I'm new to that role this year, so, but thank you. Yeah, so we will host nominations and an election for board president, or board member for a 3-year term for the 23-24 year, at the same meeting that we host nominations for club president for the 24-25 year. Clear as mud.
You're taking notes.
So per our bylaws,
There
we
will be a quiz.
Quiz concept.
I still haven't read mine.
So our bylaws include that we nominate at one meeting, and then a month after that, we hold the election. So on the April 14th meeting will be our election for those 2 offices. That's what I had.
Awesome.
Had a brief word as AG for later whenever.
Okay, well,
You
you have the floor, why not?
My other hat, as your area governor representing the northern 4 clubs, we wanted to give you a save the date. There are DAC TV emails coming out to save the dates for both district training assembly, which will be in Ukiah this year at the Ukiah Conference Center. That'll be on April 1st, no kidding. It should be fun. One of my favorite holidays of the year. And I'll be going as one of the speakers, and would be happy to carpool with others who would like to attend. District Training Assembly is all about how to Rotary. How do we do the things that we do? What training do we need to understand what possible avenues of service there are, and what clubs are struggling with or succeeding at, and how to model that success. So that's District Training Assembly coming up April 1st.
And that's just one day in Ukiah.
One day in Ukiah. There is a social the Friday night before for those that can go early and want to stay overnight. But that'll be coming out. And then May 4th through 7th is our district conference at Canocti and Clear Lake. And our district governor, Jennifer Strong, is really excited to kind of host at home. She's with the Lakeport Club, and it's basically right in her backyard, and that's going to be exciting to also see Canocti reopening after a long stint of renovations due to being closed for COVID, and so that will be fun as well. So watch for those announcements. Save the
We'll
dates.
keep it going. Claire, do you want to wait until next week, or would you like to talk a little bit about youth exchange?
I don't need the slides, so I could do it real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, we went to the North American Youth Exchange Network Convention in Washington, D.C., and it was wonderful. There were, I think, around 500 people there. So from all over the world who came, and we got to meet some of the connections on the other side where we send students, which was wonderful. And there was more of an emphasis on mental health this time, which I thought was so appropriate. There's a lot of synchronicity going on here. For the last two or 3 years, I've been doing some trainings for the outbounds, and now this last year we did a training for the inbounds on acceptance and commitment therapy, or acceptance and commitment training, so skills for pushing through the difficult emotional pieces of being a youth exchange student. And I don't know if any of you have seen some of the recent surveys that have come out from the government, but youth mental health is really, really impacted. Like, very, I won't bring you the sobering statistics, but it's shocking and it's scary. So we kind of like need mental health and social emotional skills throughout, you know, adults, children, and acceptance and commitment training, we'll call it, it goes into all kinds of areas. It's not just like something a therapist would use, behaviorists use it, organizations use it. It's an approach. And so they're learning those skills, and you know, we've heard some really good feedback from the students. Usually we get an eye roll because this is a mindfulness type practice, but then afterwards they're like, that was the best part of the training. So we're going to continue to build it. We reached out to the psychologist who presented on mental health at NIAN, and we've reached out to others who were interested, including a Rotarian therapist in Uganda. We're in Lazo's home district. So we're building and hoping to spread this model, and then very oddly, or maybe synchronicity going on here, like probably a month ago, I'm on the listserv for the psychologist who developed this model of ACT, and this is the book that the students all get, by the way. And they're having a mindfulness retreat in Nepal, so I'm going to Nepal in mid-May with like 10 mental health professionals and the psychologist for a meditation hiking retreat. So I'm working on getting in shape, but anyway, I get to spend 2 weeks with her. So if you see me at Health Sport, just because I'm training, because I don't want to die up there on like 4 to 8 hours of hiking and hiking up to the tea houses. But anyway,
From sea level to.
yeah, exactly. So this is building, and you know, I can see it spreading, and I kind of see the cogs are fitting in place. So just to let you all know, we're working on it, and I'll let you know how this weekend we have our training. It's the country reveal for youth exchange, and of course let you know how that goes, and then when I come back from Nepal, I'll let you know how that goes too. Hopefully I'll come back in one piece. Yeah.
And do we still only have one host family signed up so far?
None quite signed up just yet.
Okay.
The field is open.
We are working
Keep
on that.
asking.
Yes, yeah. It's an opportunity.
You'll be getting phone calls.
Awesome, okay. Great,
What?
you're on.
Oh, I have no announcements. So, welcome. This is the Eureka Theater. And let's just kind of go through what's going to happen today. I'm going to talk a lot, but that's every day. Yeah. And then, you know, this being the warm part, we're going to sort of start in here, and then we can do a quick walk around. There's a lot of stairs and et cetera, so we'll start in the balcony, and that's a little easier, and then we'll go down and up, and we'll show you around. But it's quite cold in there, because we don't run the furnace unless we have a big event.
So I brought wraps.
Yeah, there's
All of the back of the stairs.
It takes about a day to heat it up. And we're actually working with O&M right now on redesigning and reconfiguring some of our heating system, which was torn apart in 1978, and I'll tell you why. Yes, I thought you were raising your hand. You're just...
I did. This isn't a big event?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal.
Okay, that's good enough.
Good save.
In terms of number of people, yeah, it's a little rough. It does take like a whole day of, 500,000 BTU furnaces running to try to get the auditorium floor to 60 degrees, and then it'll be 80 up. So we got to build our circulation system back in. But today is the theater's birthday. It's March 3rd, 1939, it opened. It was completed sort of at the end of January, and then they did the opening. And it was built by a man by the name of George Mann. And he owned a number of theaters and built a number of theaters. And he built the Arcata Theater, this theater, the Fortuna, Willits. I mean, he had them all over the place. Redwood Theater Company, the Redwood Theaters. And initially, and there's a little screen showing on the big screen, and you can see the pictures on our website. Initially, this theater was going to be an entire block of a hotel. So if you look at 1937, the original sketches that got published in the paper is new hotel block planned, and it was going to be on the corner here, there was many stories, and then the theater was just part of that. But as money ran out, or time went on, they decided just to build the theater. And so they did. And this was the largest theater in his chain. This was the movie palace of all of his theaters, and he was quite proud of it. And it's funny and ironic now a little bit because it's cold. One of the things when they opened, they touted is we have a state-of-the-art air circulation system. We have soft seats. I mean, you can kind of put your mind at what a theater experience was negatively because of what they were advertising this as being. So it was like soft seats, fresh air, you know, big screens, you know. Ladies' makeup lounges on all the floors. I didn't even talk about that. Men's smoking lounge, because maybe women didn't smoke. I don't know. It's like they were not doing their makeup. They're in there sleeping their cigs. And smoking only in the loge, you know, the balcony area. So you could smoke in the lounges, or you could smoke in the loge, but you couldn't smoke down the auditorium floor. And they built this huge circulating system, and it's like, the air circulates every minute, you know, inside the theater. So think about, you know, it's like, oh, what was your theater experience prior to that? Hard seats. I have some old seats from the minor theater, and they're, you know, these fold down hard, like bent plywood seats. And hard seats, everybody's smoking. The theater was probably built in the teens or the 20s, and so it probably wasn't really warm. It certainly wasn't very clear to see the screen because you had all the cigars and cigarettes and everything going on. So this was the modern movie palace for Eureka. And it started with 1,700 seats, which is a lot. and no stage. It really was built as a movie theater. So, you know, we've been, you know, various times saying, oh wow, this would be a great for plays and things like that. And it's like, it's only about 6 feet between the screen and the back wall. And there are no wings, there's no rigging, there's, you know, no really rooms on the side, nothing like that. So, so it was just for movies. And there's a slide that this is also available on our Facebook page if you want to see it. It has a movie bill from like 1939, 1940. And it was showing movies every day but Monday. So it was only closed one day a week. And, you know, in retrospect, I mean, it would be great to be able to do that. At least we wouldn't have to keep turning the heater on and off, right? But obviously we're not doing that. So it operated as a single screen theater until 1978. And in 1978, what was going on? Well, we had, in 1971, the Mann family, the Redwood Theater, built the State Theater, the triplex, out on Indianola, which is now the storage unit place in the back, right? But, you know, some of us who were a little longer in the tooth and longer in residency will remember the opening of the State Theater. It was sort of around the same time we got our first McDonald's. And it was like, man, we got a theater with 3 screens, you know, and a McDonald's. Eureka's on its way. And Kmart opened around the same time too. So we were going, baby. This town was good. And for a kid from Miranda, you know, it was like, cool, I can drive up here and see. So that opened in 71. You know, bigger movie plexes were kind of happening. This place, you know, was getting a little old, and it was hard to justify, I think, 1,700 seats for one screen. So they broke it up. So what they did is they cut the balcony in half, basically put a wall down the middle and a wall down the front and then kind of a floor, and they put 2 more screens up here. And you'll see that caused a lot of damage when it was taken out. Caused a lot of damage being put in. So it ran like that from 78 until about 96, at which point it just closed. And by 96, that was gone, or just leaving the triplex. It closed right around the late 90s. But you had the Broadway 8 was probably being built or contemplated at the time, because it was the old Pack and Save. And you had the movies at the Bayshore Mall, right? They put in, I think, 6 screens at the Bayshore Mall. So it closed. And literally was just left empty and abandoned. And damaged, and people were trespassing, and it was really trashed, quite honestly. And it wasn't in great shape anyway when it closed, you know, there's like a lot of modifications in the lobby and everything else that just kind of made it look funky. And so in 2000, it was purchased by the Arcata family. The nonprofit was created, and that's what's owned it ever since. And it's been a sort of a working, operating restoration. And that involved the first, like, just cleaning it, getting the roof repaired, and then they started with the lobbies, which are been completely redone and restored back to their original site. You know, a digital projector, new screen, new sound system, everything, trying to get it operating because that's how they were going to make their money, fundraisers and operating. And that worked and got a lot done. We're now in the phase, though, where we have to start doing some major capital campaign, and that's what we're starting to kick off now. Because this project, you know, this apartment, was about $100,000+ to get redone. And that was largely rebuilding the sunroom, which has been rotting and about ready to fall down. So it was completely rebuilt, basically, over the last couple of years. But we did, you know, we obviously have done a lot of work in here in restoring it back to its original look. But now we have to do things like the monument sign and the overhang, which is took some major damage in 2010. They kind of held it together. We took some damage again last earthquakes, and now it's sort of held together. And we do have a bid, and it's about $1 million to rebuild and restore that with lights and everything. That's from, you know, where it is now to where we can just flip the switch and it comes on. And we also have to, of course, start working really on the auditorium, the heating system, the seats, and all that. And you know, talking to the board, I got on the board, great timing, just before COVID. You know, it was like, okay, we can't operate our way to finishing the restoration. We're gonna have to change our model. So we took a loan, redecked, put together a loan. Don't worry, there's no kickbacks, it's all clear, we cleared it, you know, to a nonprofit. And the Humble Area Foundation actually put most of the money in, and that's paid for this apartment, redo, bunch of new membrane roofs, you know, and some other equipment and some other repairs that we need to get done. I don't know if you noticed, but we have a broken window. Someone just vandalized one of our storefronts the other night. So that's the other thing, is like constantly just backfilling for damage, either vandalism or just decay of the building, or earthquakes, and the rainstorms were really bad. It blew off parts of the shingles on the roof in the auditorium, with some leaks, and had to replace those. So it's a real challenge, but it's a lot of fun. I joined after a lot of prodding from a friend that was on the board, and I thought, oh, this will be fun. I'm just gonna be one of those board members that shows up for events. Now I'm president. So, you know, suckers born every minute. You know, it took me about 5 minutes to be delivered, I guess. Yeah, so just a little bit on this apartment. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Feel free to walk around. What we're gonna do is put it up for Airbnb, or kind of an Airbnb, through Vacasa, which does the rental. You know, we don't wanna have to deal with it. But then we will able to have it for events, or if we have bands, they can stay in here, that kind of thing. So that will be, everything's pretty much ready except for the kitchen, which is, we're waiting for our appliances, and then we'll finish out the cabinetry and everything in there. And then we'll be on the market, so. Again, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, has its own bar. I don't know if you saw the dining room, which is my favorite room, that oval kind of room, small kitchen, and then the bedroom, 2 bathrooms down there, which is really fun. All right, so let me see how I'm doing on time. Okay.
Who was this built for originally?
The apartment.
The apartment? It's a good question. We do know that people lived in here, but also might have been for George Mann, you know, when he was visiting his various theaters, because there's an apartment in the Arcata Theater, and you know, some of the others have the little apartments in them. This is, again, the biggest one. But there was a tenant that lived in here a long time, that moved out in 2017 or 18. And that's when we were able to start, the restoration. And the great news is, you know, that it was never really ever modified in here, it just sort of decayed over time. So the nice thing is that, you know, you still have the original light fixtures, and, you know, the plaster was, we had to do a bunch of repair over here where there was a big leak. You know, it's just so fun. I mean, you look like this cove door and these curves and everything else. It's amazing work. And I don't know if you see the bathrooms, but they're tiled and everything. So it was you know, it was in a state of decay, but it hadn't been ruined. You know, it wasn't like one of those Victorians you walk in and all the woodwork is gone. It's got 60s or 70s paneling in there. It's like, oh my God. They got rid of all that carving because they didn't like all that, you know, didn't look modern, you know. Oh God, those are like hand-carved balusters or anyway. And so the theater, you know, when they went from, you know, 1 screen to 3 screens was when they really created a lot of the damage inside, and then the lobby had been pretty well kind of messed up, covered up more than having stuff taken out. So we were able to, and that was before I was on the board when they did all of that.
Are you gonna put it in stage?
We have a stage now, so we can do live music, but you know, it's not really appropriate for like plays or anything like that. But yeah, one of the first things they did was put a big stage in and a sound system. So, you know, we've done big shows here. I mean, the last big show we did was House of Floyd back in 2019. And that's where we make our money. You know, we make, I mean, we do our movies and, you know, we make a couple $1,000, and that kind of covers the bill for a month to keep it open. But, you know, that had like 700 people. And it was really fun. Got really smoky in there. No one was really paying attention to our no smoking signs. But we sold a hell of a lot of food and beer that night. Which is great. You know, it's amazing when the cash registers are ringing, you're just how much you just like, you know, no, I don't smell it all. Open the lobby doors, it's just like, like, whoa, never mind.
When did the Arcata Theater get built?
That was in the 20s. This, you know, it's got Sweezy, you know, on it. It was a state theater. And it was built kind of as a multi-purpose, you know, so it was a movie theater for a long time, but I think it was originally built as sort of movie vaudeville, you know, all that. So that's why they have, I don't know if you've been backstage or anything there, but they've got the green rooms and everything downstairs. They have all this other that we just don't have. This was like, come in, watch a movie, leave. The only, you know, mechanical part of this whole place is the projection booth, right? And the lobby. And so, yeah, and that theater, of course, operated, Mann had it, and I believe it was he that sold it. I'm not exactly sure when, but, you know, but the Dailies went in there. So Dailies, some of you remember Dailies occupying that. And then that was a real wreck too, you know, when they got it. You know, the university bought it and they found out that the pledges they were buying it with didn't exist, and then they arrested somebody, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, so you have been around a while, I remember all that scandal. You know, I was walking through here with Kurt Kramer, who did the restoration on that, you know. It's like, Kurt, man, this is, you know, this is a big deal, and I just want to get your opinion, you know, and hear about your restoration efforts. And he goes, oh, and he gave me all the resources, really good information. And he's like, you know, but I had one thing that you didn't have. And I was like, what's that? And he goes, an unlimited budget. Like, as soon as the Arcata decided they were going to put their name on it, then he's like, I didn't have to raise any money. Money was not a problem. I was like, yeah, okay. Goal. Goal set. So yeah, so that was there. And then the old Yenching over here, which is kind of like by Swanlands, and there's that sign, that was the Rialto Theater. And if you look, you know, you look from the second floor here, you see, you know, that old, where the Chinese restaurant was, you worked there, but there's a big building back there with a roof on it, you know, you kind of see when you come down Sixth Street, that just big brick edifice, that's the auditorium. I've always wanted to go in there and see what's left in there, you know, but I haven't had the chance. And it's unreinforced masonry, so no one really wants to go. See Lloyd Building. So, yeah. So, and, you know, this is, I mean, look, the sun's coming out, the sunroom's warming up. This is a really kind of a neat spot. And our goal is to use it as a continuing revenue source.
You planning a capital fund drive?
Hmm?
Are you planning a capital?
We are. We're putting together a team right now. We've had some meetings around that. Lynette Mullen, who some of you might know, is gonna head that up, as one of our members of our board. And, we've been doing some grant writing and, you know, for little stuff, but we're gonna have to really step it up. And you know, it's necessary because in buildings like this, if you aren't repairing them, they're decaying, they're dying, you know, it's not, there's no such thing as stasis. You know, it's just like every time the earth shakes. Now, the good news, in case you are wondering about earthquakes, this is all poured concrete. So, these are really sturdy buildings. And it's kind of fun. Well, we can go downstairs if you want to look interior. Even the stairs are poured concrete. And you can still go underneath and see all the grain from the boards. Or if you go on the outside of the auditorium into the, you know, not really wings, but the sort of utility areas on the side. You can see all the boards are still impressed into the, all the forms are still in the, you can see all the forms, the impressions of all the forms, so you can see how much wood they just built up and were pouring concrete with big rebar in it. So it's a heavy building. There's no basement except we have what we call the murder basement. We haven't done murder yet. But it's where the furnace lives, behind the screen and downstairs. It's got this narrow stairway and you go down there and there's huge blower and sump and it's just creepy, like, you know, the one bulb kind of. So we call it the murder basement. That is part of the tour if anybody wants to see it. I think we got the bodies out. There's a big pit we just drop them in. So. All right, any other questions, or we want to bundle up and walk around a little? Yeah. All right.
If anybody came up just a few minutes late, there's still some bagels and coffee and juice in here.
And our next big event here is March 12th. The Film Commission is doing its red carpet gala for the Oscars.